Today I want to talk to you about something that really hurts. It's a situation where the unfaithful spouse is going back and forth between the affair partner or partners. Typically it's just one, but the unfaithful spouse is going back and forth, non-stop between their spouse and the affair partner. We call it addicted to being stuck. And it is probably one of the most painful situations that we see. I know for me, the last quarter, if you will, of time talking with people, I have seen that do the most amount of damage within the scope of infidelity's damaging potential. Addicted to being stuck is where the unfaithful spouse, and I see it. Just the other day I had somebody say this to me. They'll say, no, I want to be with my spouse. I just know it. I have finally had this moment where God has spoke to me, or life has spoke to me, or I have just woken up and I see it now. I want to be with my spouse. And I encourage them and say, great, okay. And then they go be with their spouse, and it's not long, 2 days, 3 days maybe 4 days, but not very long at all. Where they'll then, the next phone call is, it was too hard, or the betrayed spouse will call me and say, you know what, Samuel, he's left again. It was too hard. They just couldn't do it. It was just impossible. And so the same passion that they had for their spouse, the unfaithful spouse, now has for their affair partner, and they go back. But I'll tell you, it's also not long before they will then reach out to their spouse and say, you know, it's not what I thought it was. It's muddy, it's not working, I want to come home, can I come home? And it's this dance. It is this back and forth dance, and I call it addicted to being stuck. They're stuck in the middle of both, and they keep going back and forth, and it hurts like hell for the betrayed spouse. What I want to do today is make some observations, because I'm really wanting to help you, the unfaithful spouse, see and hear what this does to your mate, but I also want you, the betrayed spouse, to feel like my explanations are tapping into what you're feeling so that you don't feel alone, and so that we can at least put some words to what you're feeling and start to help guide you through the process. I know that time and time again these situations come our way, and we really want to do all we can to help. I know that I want to try and extract out the DNA of this addicted to being stuck mentality, because if we can extract out some things, maybe we'll see it in a different way and stop doing it. Going back and forth, having this addicted to being stuck mentality is incredibly wounding. It wounds the betrayed spouse even more than the initial infidelity. It is even more damaging than the initial disclosure, because now the unfaithful gives a glimmer of hope that they're coming back. Now, the betrayed spouse may put on a front that says, well, sure, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. But in an undeniable way, emotionally, internally, there's this point where you think, okay, they're coming back. We have a chance. This is going to work. There's hope. They are seeing the light of their ways, and they're getting healthy. I think we got a shot. And inevitably, they turn around and they go the other way. And the wounding is compounded, because now you, as an unfaithful spouse, have given some hope, taken it back. Tried to give a little bit more hope, taken it back. You've given them the impression that you're coming, and then you've ripped the rug out from underneath them time and time again. You are doing more damage than just the inherent damage of infidelity. I would say that the back and forth is worse than just the instance of having an affair, because the back and forth doesn't just damage them, it kind of rakes them over the coals back and forth, compounding the trauma It would be one thing if you had an affair as an unfaithful, and then you kind of weren't sure, and then you took some time and you did some recovery work and you still didn't commit. You still kind of stayed in the background, if you will, and didn't really give them much hope. You just kind of took 6 months or however amount of time to work on you. Maybe you were with the affair partner, maybe you weren't. I don't know. But that would be better than back and forth, back and forth. You're giving hope. No, I'm not. Yes, I want to be with you. All these things have happened and I am going to be here. And then you say, no, 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 all these things have not happened. So you keep deceiving and you keep lying to them, and it does more and more damage. Another thing that the addicted to being stuck approach does is it makes it harder and harder for the betrayed spouse to believe that you as an unfaithful are being genuine. What I mean is that it becomes harder and harder to believe that you have the ability to be honest or truthful. It is marring the betrayed spouse's ability to believe in you. Not just believe you, but believe in you, because you have continued to lie and deceive and create this sales pitch that you're coming back and that you're riding on the white horse into the home to save the marriage, only to leave 2, 3, 4 days, 5 days, whatever later. All that I've said so far leads me to the next point, which is you doing this dance of back and forth as an unfaithful. You are reinforcing the stigma that's attached to you that you are not mentally well. Because what happens is you put the hard sell. I'm coming home. You know, God has spoken to me. I've sobered up. I've seen the light. I had this moment. I have really come to see that I want to be home. And so you are putting on such a good hard sell. You are really finding different creative ways to sell it, right? I mean, you may or may not, and I'll talk about this later, you may or may not be aware of what you're doing. So we'll just leave that there. But you're putting on this hard sell, and the betrayed spouse is having to watch this unfold. He or she doesn't know if they can believe you. They're starting to see there's something not right. You are psychotic. You are off. Like you are living in another world. I don't mean that as a clinical diagnosis, but you are starting to appear mentally off because you're constantly going back and forth. You're not only damaging your spouse, you're damaging yourself, and you're hindering your ability to see the objective truth of the situation. Finally, what you're doing is you are revealing the fact that you are not choosing your spouse. You need your spouse. Because what happens is you lose the affair partner, so you come back to your spouse. Or you have an issue where you go, man, I want to be with my spouse. So then you go back to your spouse and you leave the affair partner, but you're going back and forth, back and forth. So what happens is you hit this point where you're like, I can't be without the affair partner and I can't be without my spouse. So you're not choosing your spouse. You are needing your spouse. And anyone that is well-versed in recovery will tell you that as long as you just need your spouse, you're not choosing them, so your recovery intention is really marred. It's really not authentic and pure, and it's not worthy of being trusted because all you do is you need one or the other. You can't choose them, and if you can't choose, you are not healthy in your recovery.